Okay, make sure you have your foldable for your percents. So if you're in Castor's class, here is your table of contents for May of 2025. So make sure you have this all updated before you move on. We have fractions, decimals, and percents on page 72, 74, and 76. So make sure that is all updated, and make sure you have these 3 foldables glued on the correct pages so you can get credit for them later this week. Okay, convert fractions to decimals to percents. Now remember, this is just a little picture to help remind you of what to do. So when you want to change a fraction into a decimal, remember we divide the numerator by the denominator, so the top divided by the bottom, and that would give you 0.75. Now remember, if you want to change to a percent, you just times that by 100, and you're going to get this. Also, you know the trick of moving it 2 decimals to the right because you're multiplying by 100 because percents are out of 100. 2 decimals to the right. Boom, boom, and you get 75%. Okay, going backwards, you can also start from the right-hand side. If you're given a percent or a decimal, you could work your way back to a fraction. So a percent obviously is out of 100, so you're going to divide by 100. So basically that's because it's 40 out of 100. So if you do 40 divided by 100, you're going to get 0.4. If you want to be able to write that as a fraction, remember that you just read it like you would correctly. This number is in the tenths place, so you write this as 4 tenths. So just like you're supposed to read that. You're not supposed to read that 0.4. You're supposed to say 4 tenths. So 4 tenths, and then you would be able to simplify this if you have a common factor that goes into both 4 and 10, which 2 goes into both. So divide by 2, and you would get 2 over 5, which is your fraction. So quickly just reminding you how to go back and forth in between. Okay, so we have an example when we want to say what is 28% of 50. Remember, of in math means multiply. Make sure you remember that. Of in math is multiply, so if you just see the of, just know to multiply them. Now, obviously, 28% is not a real number, so you're going to convert that into a decimal, so 0.28, and you're going to multiply that by 50. So if you do 0.28, I don't know why I wrote 25, 28.28 times 50. So if you were to put this in here, 0.28 times, oh my gosh, I can't even do this. I'm not going to do this on Desmos because I can't see the, oh, wait, there it is. Beep. Times 50, and you get 14 as your answer. So there we go. So they put this in, you can do that like that, or you could do it 28 over 100 times 50. I don't know why you would choose this method, but obviously that's an option. Same thing with this. If you have the of, that means multiply. So you're actually doing 0.4 because you move this over, boom, boom, 2 places. And remember, you could drop off this extra 0 if you want, times 3/8. Now, if you're doing this by hand, you're not going to want to try to have decimals and fractions in the same problem. So you probably change this 0.4 to 4 tenths. And then you could do 4 tenths times 3/8. And you can go straight across the top, that's a 12. Straight across the bottom, that's an 80. And then you could simplify what goes into both of those. 4 goes into both. I don't know if that's the biggest, but 4 does. 3 divided by 4, or 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 80 divided by 4 is 20. And nothing else goes into 3 and 20 evenly. So they have the answer right down here. Okay, let's go on the inside of the foldable. What is 32% of 25? So what are we going to do with this 32? We're going to change it to 0.32 of is times 25. So put that in a calculator. What do we got here? .32 times 25, and we get 8 as our answer. So we have 8. What is 80% of 3/4? So that is 0.8 times 3/4. So if we change that, that's going to be an 8/10 times a 3/4. And you can multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. You could also cancel out earlier if you want. So if we see this 8 on top and the 4 on the bottom, those are both divisible by 4. So we could divide this by 4 and get a 2, and we could divide this by 4 and get a 1. Go straight across, and we get 6/10. That can be simplified more. Divide by 2, and we get 3/5. If we did not cancel first, you would have gotten 24/40. And then you could see what goes into 24 and 40 evenly. Actually, those both are divisible by 8. So we could do divided by 8, and we would get 3/5. Same thing. So this is just a way to simplify before, or you could simplify after. It's totally up to you. When you get to algebra 2, though, and have to simplify, if you know how to do that, it makes your life a little bit easier. Okay, there are 46 females and 6 males in an auditorium. What percentage of people are male? So if we want to know the percentage of people, we always do the part over the whole is basically equal to the percent over 100. So this is like a nice little proportion that helps you remember. If you do the part over the whole equals percent over 100. So no matter which piece you have, you could put it in the spot, and then you could remember if you should be dividing or multiplying or what exactly should be happening. Okay, so we want to have 46 females and 64 males are in an auditorium. What percentage of people are male? So we want to know which percentage of people are male. So we basically, the part that we want is male over the whole, right, is going to equal our percent over 100. So we do have the male. The male is 61. So basically the 61 is going to go in this spot, right? Do we have the whole? Now the whole is going to be the males and the females together. So we do need to add these to get the whole. So the whole is going to equal what? Let's do 46 plus 61. What is 46 plus 61? That equals 107. Okay, so we have 61 over 107. So we can clearly see, in order to find this percent, now you could cross multiply if you want. That times that equals that times that. Or you can just divide these and get the decimal. It's up to you. So I could just divide this and get a decimal, or I could crisscross multiply and put an X there, whichever method you like better. Since I have my calculator up here, I'm just going to do 61 divided by 107. 61. Does that work like that? Oh, I guess it does. 61 divided by 107. So we get 0.57. Now that is, in order to change that to percent, we need to move it 2 places to the right. So this is going to be approximately 557%. Okay, Jasmine got 13 out of 15 questions correct on her math test. What percent grade did she get? Now just remember this up here. part over the whole equals the percent over 100. So part over the whole. So we need the part over the whole. This one, let's go ahead and multiply do like a proportion instead of just dividing. Part over whole equals percent over 100, just so you can see that it works both ways. So what is the part she got correct? 13. So 13 is going to go on the top. What is the whole? Out of 15 questions, that's the whole. So we're going to have a 13 over 15 equals the percent, that's what we want to know, let's call that x, over 100. So we could just divide that and get the decimal and move it over like we did in the last one. But let's go ahead and do this one like a proportion, just so we know both ways work. So what do I have here? 15 times x gives me 15x. I'm going to put it next to it instead of underneath it where I normally do. 13 times 100 is 1300. Then in order to solve this, to get x on the side by itself, we have to divide this side by 15 and divide this side by 15. So we have 1300. Remember, you could use the divided by as the fraction bar, or I could actually use this divided by button and it'll show up a fraction bar. 15. So I got 86.6. So for this case, I'm obviously looking for the percent, so I don't have to move the decimal over. It already did it for me. That's what happened when I multiplied by 100. So what percent is approximately 86 points? I'm going to shove that to 7. About 80. It doesn't say what to round to, so I'm just going to do 86.7%. 75% of what number equals 15? So this kind of problem, it's not, it says 75% of what number. So you're basically tying by some number that you don't know here. So this multiplication is not going to work in this problem because we don't have the number to multiply by. So for these, remember we had, 32% of 25, but this says 75% of something, which I don't know. So that's when the proportion is have to be used. So let's go ahead and do the proportion. So this is going to be part over whole equals percent over 100. And then we have to think about what they gave us. Did they give us the part or the whole? What percent of what number equals 15? So the of what number is the missing big number. So we don't have the whole, but we do have the part. So the 15 is going to be our part. So 15 is on the top. The whole we don't have. So I'm going to call that X down here because this is my I don't know. Of what big number, right? 15 out of what? And then we do have the percent, which is 75. So our proportion we're going to be dealing with is 15 over x equals 75 over 100. Okay, let's go ahead and cross multiply. So if I cross multiply and set them equal, I've got 75 times x is 75x equals, I need 15 times 100. Remember, when you multiply by 100, you just basically move the decimal to the right 2 or tack on 2 zeros if it's a whole number. But you could put that in your calculator and multiply if you want, because you're allowed to calculate for this section. Okay, divide by 75 on both sides to get x by itself. Okay, so that means I'm going to have 1500 divided by 75. I'm going to get 20. So the answer is 20. This is not a percent or anything. It says 75% of what number is 15. So this is saying 75% of 20 is going to give me 15. So if I have a test with 20 questions on it and I get a 75%, that means I got 15 of them right. Okay, number 6. Tanka bought a Jeep for $21,835. Over the past year, the value of the car depreciated by 7%. What's depreciation? That means it goes down That's what happens when you buy a car and drive it around. It's not worth as much money anymore. So it depreciated by 7%. What is the value of the car now? Rounded to the nearest dollar. Nearest dollar. So we got to remember when we're done, we want it to the whole dollar, no change. Okay, so we need to, we know that it went down 7%. So we need to figure out what 7% of this is. So we are basically looking for 7% of $21,835. Okay, but that's just going to tell us how much it went down, because then we're going to have to subtract that number off of it to get how much the car is worth. So it's going down this much. So we need 7% of that. Now we know of is just straight up multiply. So this 7% is 7 out of 100, right? And that is going to be, move the decimal 2 places backwards. That's going to be a 0.07. So we need 0.07 times 21,835. So let's put that in our calculator. 0.07. Remember, if we had just 0.7, that would mean 70%. And that's not right. Times 21835. 21835. Okay, good. 21835. So we've got 1528.45. Now this is how the percent it depreciated. So it went down by this much. So that means I have to take my, how much my Jeep cost me, $21,835, and I need to subtract $1,528.45. So I gotta subtract this. Now I can use my calculator for this section. Good thing. Let's see. So I got 21,835 minus 1528.48. So that means I'm going to get 20306.52. This is how much my Jeep is worth now. So I bought it for this much. I drove it around for a year, and now it's only worth $20,000. Now I want to round this to the nearest dollar, though. So I want to round to the nearest dollar. So basically, I can't have this change. But since this 5 is clearly 5 or above, I got to shove up this 6 to a 7. So my Jeep is now 20307. So this is how much my Jeep, her Jeep, $20,307 is the value of her car now. Or he. I'm assuming it's a she. Okay, what do I know? Okay, Buford bought a new shirt on sale for $8.79. The original price was $19.99. I say Buford got a deal. What percent discount was the sale price? Okay, so we need to figure out. This is the new price, right? And this was the original price. So we need to figure out, in order to find out what the percent discount is, we need to know how much was subtracted to get the new price. So how much did they take off? Subtracted. Okay, so let's do, it originally was $19.99, right? We need to subtract off this $8.79 to get the dollar discount. Okay, so let's subtract these two values. We got 19.99, oopsie, my point didn't show up, minus 8.79. So $11 $1.20. So this was the discount, right? That was the discount. So we need to figure out what that was. We need to figure out the part over the whole equals the percent over 100. Okay, so what is the part that was taken off? The part that got taken off was 1120. So the 1120 is going to go on the top. What was the whole? The whole was 1999. So we're going to do 11.20 over 19.99. And that's going to give us our percent over 100. Okay, so I'm going to call this X. Okay, so let's cross multiply. So that means we got 19.99x equals 11.20 times 100 is 1120. I got to divide both sides by 19.99. Divide by 19.99. Okay, let's see what that is. I've got 1120 divided by 19.99. And I get 56. Wait, this is a percent, so 56. I'm just going to round it to 56%. So this is a 56. This is how much they had off. 56% off sale. That's a decent sale. All right. Jimothy left a $7.50 tip on his dinner of $33.24. What percent tip did he leave to the nearest whole number? Nearest whole number. Okay, so let's do the part over the whole. Equals the percent over 100. Part over whole equals percent over 100. Okay, so what is the part and what is the whole? 750 was left out of 33.24. So the part is 7.50. And the whole is the 33.24. Okay, so let me write this out here. We got 7.50 over 33.24 is equal to the percent over 100. So we're asking what percent. So this is my X. So cross multiply. So I've got 33.24 X is equal to 100 times 750 is 750. To get X by itself, divide both sides by 33.24. Divided by 33.24. And I'm going to get X equals, let's see, we got 750 divided by 33.24. And I get 22.56 something. Okay, and then I'm going to go back here. It says to round to the nearest whole number. So what is this to the whole number? That means I can't have anything here, but this is a 5, so I'm about to shove this 22, and the answer is going to be 23. So, oh, and that is a percent. So what percent tip? So 23%. That's a decent tip. Okay, make sure this gets glued. If you're in Casters 2025, put that on page 76. You should have all your foldables. Remember, add to your table of contents. Make sure you have all 3 of these done. They'll be checked for credit. Not half done, all the way done. There's videos in Google Classroom. Do your practice work now.